Welcome to Food Bar. Today we're in the kitchen and we're making a wonderful dessert that is perfect for all of your fall and holiday baking. This is Magic Pumpkin Buckle. The best way to describe this dessert is to compare it to a pumpkin pie cobbler. I have no doubt that this one will become a favorite in your home as well. Once you see how easy it is to make, you will be reaching for this recipe over and over again. So let's begin by looking at the three bowls that we're going to be working out of. The first one is our pumpkin pie mixture, and we've got some spices here. We've got nutmeg, ground ginger, ground cloves, ground cinnamon, evaporated milk, flour, white sugar, brown sugar, salt, 2 eggs, and 100% pumpkin puree. This is all going to be mixed in this one bowl that you see here, and this is going to be our first workstation. The second one is our batter, and for this we've got flour, sugar, salt, baking powder, vanilla extract, and we will be adding some milk that you see there in that measuring glass, and I'll talk to you about the milk in a little bit here. And then of course we've got the heavy whipping cream because we're going to whip our own cream. So we'll get started by greasing the 13x9 glass pan, and then we will begin with the pumpkin puree. Get all of the pumpkin puree out into the bowl, and then we'll add our spices and our sugar and our evaporated milk. So inside of this can we've got more than 1 cup, but we're going to measure out 1 cup for this part of the recipe. And then we've got our white sugar, our packed brown sugar. We've got 2 eggs. We'll get those in there, and then we'll go on with the 2 tablespoons of flour. We've got some salt. And then our spices are cinnamon, ground cloves, ground ginger, and then we've got this nutmeg. So we've got fresh nutmeg. You can also buy it ground, but I like to grate it myself because it's more fragrant and it adds a special flavor that makes this dessert so delicious. So you're going to use your microplane and get about 1/4 of a teaspoon, and I will grate that right on there. And I want to show you here, if you can see the shavings of the nutmeg, so you can kind of get an idea how much I grated there. And then you're going to mix all of this with your hand mixer, making sure it all gets incorporated. And I'll stop halfway here and use my spatula to make sure I get the sides of the bowl so everything gets mixed right in there. And then once that's done, we will set that aside, and then we'll move on to our next workstation. So I'll take the rest of the evaporated milk that was in the can, and I want a total 1 cup, but I don't quite make it with that 1 can, so the rest of the milk is just regular milk. And I've got 1 cup now of milk, and I'll add my flour, I'll add my sugar, and then the salt and the baking powder. Here I'm using a vanilla bean paste. Instead of vanilla extract, you measure it the same as you would vanilla extract, but this here has vanilla bean inside of this paste. It's really good, and it just adds more of a vanilla flavor. And you can also see the little specks in there from the bean paste. So I'll take this now and I will mix it with my hand mixer, and the consistency is kind of like a pancake batter, kind of like a very thin pancake batter, but that's the best way to describe the consistency of this. So I'm ready now with these two mixtures. I've got my batter and my pumpkin puree. The batter goes down first, and the reason it's called magic pumpkin buckle is because during the baking process, the batter will rise to the top. But here at the beginning, we add the batter first, and then the pumpkin puree goes right over the batter. And this is what it looks like before it goes into the oven for 1 hour at 350. So we'll get that going right into the oven there. You don't have to cover it or anything. It just goes right into your oven. And when it is ready, 1 hour later, we're going to test it with a toothpick or skewer that you're going to insert into the middle. If it comes out clean, it's ready to go, and you'll know that it's all done. Now you want to set it out and let it cool for a while before you serve it. Make sure it's completely cooled. That'll take maybe about an hour or so to cool completely. And while we're cooling the pumpkin buckle, we'll go ahead and start with the whipped cream. So I'll take heavy whipping cream and add this to bowl number 3 and our sugar. And you're going to mix this with your hand mixer, and just be patient. It takes a little while. You might start to think, well, it's not working, but if you're patient, you'll see that it will get more firm and more firm until you feel that it is kind of like at a stiff peak, and that is when you're going to be done with that. And it holds up really well when you set it out for serving. It'll stay several hours nice and firm like that, even into the next day when you go to store it in a storage container in your refrigerator. It holds up really, really well once it's whipped. It's really worth it to make the homemade whipped cream. It's really delicious with this recipe. So there we have both the pumpkin buckle and the whipped cream. It's all ready, and the pumpkin buckle has cooled. So we'll go ahead and cut it at this point. There we go. I like to cut it ahead of time so that other people will not struggle when they're trying to serve themselves. It'll already be cut for them. You'll just need to have a handy little spatula that is about the right size for serving and getting these pieces out. So I use a small squared metal spatula for serving the pumpkin buckle. And so you'll take the pieces out just like that, and they're nice and firm. And this is when the oohs and ahs will begin, because this dessert is so delicious. You're not going to regret it. There we go. Doesn't that look so good? Yummy. I love it. Now, if you don't have the heavy whipping cream or don't want to make it yourself, you can go ahead and buy the store-bought kind. This works just fine also. So you can have some of that on hand if you need to. That always works as well. I really hope that you do make the homemade whipped cream. It is so delicious and so worth it. But either way that you go, I know you're going to love this recipe. Thank you so much for watching and letting me share this recipe, Magic Pumpkin Buckle. Enjoy!